Never fear. Marc Daniels is here. Welcome back to the Beat of Sports.
Off we go with a Thursday edition of the Beat of Sports. Chris, turn the music down. Turn the music down. Okay, please turn the music down. Okay, just I don't want to hear it. Oh! What? Hang on. Oh, Blue Eyes.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today.
What's wrong?
Oh, no, nothing. No,
What's wrong?
no. It's all good.
You don't want to sing along?
Let you have this moment.
There are statements in
Start
sports,
spreading the news.
and then there's statement in sports.
I'm leaving
When you walk
today.
To whatever they call that park these days, with an
I
Oracle,
want to be
on a
part
Tony
of it.
Patello managed team,
New York, New
and you take
York.
down a ball club like the Yankees did last night,
On shoes are
That's
longing
statement.
to stray.
when you get a nationally televised audience on a Netflix broadcast that began 16 minutes later than it was supposed to, the first pitch, you are making a statement.
Did they even televise the first pitch?
They missed it coming back out of the commercial and the drone,
Great
and they
job,
had to get the
man.
live read in. Minor details. Statement last night, Chris.
It's not Giancarlo's fault.
Line drive base hit. Couple hits last night. Someone's hitting 500, batting title.
So do we need to
Cancel the year? No, we'll go through the motions if you want. On the road to 118 and 44. You kidding me?
what about your boy Aaron Judge? All rise and you can be seated.
First MVP to strike out 4 times in a season opening game the following year. Didn't even need him. Did it on purpose to keep the Giants around. Great moment last night, the first ABS challenge, and they're in the middle of an interview with Tony Vitello. Caballero's bat, I guess, is going to the Hall of Fame because it was the first, or I'm sorry, his helmet, because of the first ABS moment. Yeah.
For what?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Statement.
Sure.
Yeah. Then they're off today and play Friday, Saturday, and off Sunday. It's fine. It's fine. But what a statement.
Yeah, sure.
Last night, I was honored to be invited to the Orlando Sentinel celebrating their 150th anniversary, and they did a past, present, and kind of future of sports in Orlando, and they were very kind to invite me, and I was honored to be part of it last night. We had a great time over in Winter Park. Roger Simmons, the editor for the Sentinel, was the moderator. So you had Bianchi. Good to see Mike. Brian Schmitz, former columnist who doesn't age. I mean, Schmitz still looks fantastic. George Diaz, also great. Me, and to my left was Jason Siegel, Great Orlando Sports Commission, then Steve Hogan of Florida Citrus Sports. And we had a great night, met so many wonderful people, a lot of people involved in sports in the area. Met a ton of fans that were there last night, people from the Orlando Touchdown Club that come out. And thank you to so many people that came up to introduce themselves and appreciate you sharing, listening, and watching every day. And so that was great. It was great to connect with people. Thought it looked pretty good. Pretty good.
Someone's kind of feeling themselves.
Well, I told you, I felt like I had a dress to kind of maybe stand out among the older crowd. You know?
Did you stand out?
Well, Hogan far left. I mean, again, Steve he also never ages, and Steve's a good-looking guy. It's tough to compete with that. Look at me. I got to work harder. So I was kind of measuring myself against the Sentinel crowd there. So yeah, I think I did pretty well. No, but it was a fun night. Really good. We talked about sports of the past and what lies ahead for Orlando. A few nuggets that were dropped. I mean, nothing. Steve Hogan had mentioned next week the NFL owners meet in Arizona, and it is expected that they'll vote on the Jags coming here. Steve carefully chose its words by saying, let's hope that the vote goes the right way. And Steve's a great guy. The vote will go the right way. Okay, it's going to happen. The Jags are coming here. But that should be a formal announcement next week, which would be great.
That's exciting.
And I was talking with Jason Siegel about a whole bunch of things coming up. Jason's talked about some stuff here, Olympic stuff for 28 that may happen. I think will happen. A bunch of other things that they're working on. So it was good. It was fun to catch up with some of those guys that I hadn't seen in a while. So that was a fun night. I'm glad that they were inviting people like me to come be a part of it. It's a really good time. And I get home, and again, my amazing wife has the big screen on the Yankee game, and walk in. It's 3-0. It just became 5-0, and there's Marlins man behind home plate.
Your favorite guy.
I mean, just
Can't stop him.
just annoying. Just annoying. What? Sorry, what?
What do you got against Marlins, man?
Can't stand.
Why?
Can't stand them. I just told you.
But you're fine with Seth DeFlo and Carolina Mike.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm not over them yet. I'm over Marlins, man. Plus, those guys stay in their lane. They're Colts and Panthers.
And
This
he's
guy,
also Wake Forest.
that was a paid gig, man. Okay, I'm over Marlins, man. And then he see now you're doing this to me. He's in the front row. Then I guess somebody kicked him out. He was in the third row. Then he's in the back walking area. Then he's back. Like sit down. Or better yet, leave. Leave. I'm going to tell you right now, if I tune in today and Skeens is pitching and he's behind home plate today, I'm flying to New York. Telling you, I'm putting up with that crap. Man, alive, you know?
That's going to be a lot of travel for him going coast to coast.
Whatever, man. Whatever. But no, it was a good time last night, and I got home to watch the Yankees finish off the Giants, and it was good. It's fun. Another big day of baseball today. Yes. Chris, by the way, wearing his Braves.
Not only am I rocking my Spencer Strider jersey, but I don't know if you can see that little.
Means his arm's going to fall off in an hour. What?
Little 25 Andrew Jones little pendant here on a
I didn't
gold
see that.
chain. Yeah.
Oh, you were just a wannabe rapper. Well, look at that. It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got the top couple buttons undone, just like Ronald Acuna.
Wow. Combining all three players,
That's
huh?
right.
Oh, yeah.
That's how we do it.
What's honoring Dale Murphy?
I got nothing for that.
No?
No.
Glenn
I don't
Hubbard.
have anything for Chipper
Pat
either.
Rocket.
I don't have anything for Chipper either.
Chopper Campbell. Bruce Benedict.
Should have worn my
Bob
Braves
Horner.
hat.
Roland Office.
Roland
Claudell
Office.
Washington. I'm just naming former Braves going back to the really bad days of Braves baseball. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, opening day today.
Yeah.
Gonna sweep the Rays.
Yep. The minute the Braves are like 500, Chris won't care anymore. Bandwagon, climb on. Right?
Braves through and through.
Yeah, right.
Just like my Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
like my Seminoles
Uh-huh.
and my Sixers.
There you go. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yep. He's that guy, right? Everyone's got one of those friends. You're like, those teams don't make any sense.
I've given you the stories on why I
Yeah,
like
I know,
each
and I want to
team.
hear it again. Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. You can access this show in a variety of ways. We're on 96.9 FM, 740 AM on the iHeart app, where you can listen anywhere, and you can also catch us on the video stream. We're going to have to get more crazy on that to pick up those numbers. You got to be willing to sacrifice something a little bit more, not just eating. And
They like the name game.
can't do that every day.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I forgot to bring in broccoli
It's not going to happen.
because we have a segment, foods that Chris doesn't eat that Chris eats.
It's not going to happen.
Tomorrow.
No.
Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow.
You want to bet?
So catch the stream. You can go to on Twitter. Just click 96.9 Game On. You can get the link there. Or if you go to our YouTube page, 96 in the Game Orlando, click the logo, click the live button. Somebody said to me yesterday, I can't find it. So I took out my phone. I go, here, 96.9 the Game Orlando. Okay, I did that. Okay, click that button. What is that button? The logo. Now what do? You click live. Oh, that's a lot. Is it? Is it? Now, this
Put
person's
it-
probably listening now, very mad at me.
Just go youtube.com, type in 96.9 the game.
And it's there. But you have to click the live button. Otherwise, a
Right.
bunch of different videos.
Yeah.
So you just got to click live, and it shows up right there. So you can watch us, all right? Cam Miller, weekly football visit. He'll be with us today. Yesterday, whether you believe in Orlando and baseball or not, yesterday was a really interesting moment in Tampa's baseball story. Really interesting. And I'll explain a little bit later. We got somebody who's going to come on to also explain why it's interesting in Tampa, because I've seen this story 20 times before in Tampa. And whether Orlando would ever be in the hunt or not, it is a little bit funny because it's the same story. Hey, roll out the renderings of the ballpark, get a cool looking video, and wrap this baby up until you got to pay for it. We'll get to that story a little bit later on as well. History lesson coming up on the program. But here's everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1Forrest1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CV's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
All right, Mark. Feel really good about this one. Which dinosaur?
Ronnie Gant. I'm just naming former Braves right now.
Which dinosaur?
Pocoroba. No, I'm sorry. Which dinosaur?
Julio Franco.
Go ahead.
Which dinosaur had the best vocabulary?
I don't know, Chris. Which dinosaur has the best vocabulary?
The thesaurus.
If you don't watch the stream just for that laugh and to see that he's not making it up, he's actually laughing at his own jokes that he knows.
The thesaurus.
Actually knew that one, but I don't want to ruin it for you.
He's the voice you trust for the teams you love. You're listening to Marc Daniels and the Beat of Sports.
Magic back in action tonight against the Sacramento Kings. Chris, if I had said 3 weeks ago as the Magic are developing a win streak, hey, that Sacramento game might be the most important game of the season, you'd be like, what?
I would have laughed at you.
Like, no, I mean the Kings game. You would have said, you mean the Lakers game? No, the Kings game. The Kings.
I would have laughed at you.
Yes, the Kings. Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't take any game for granted at this
Not
point.
now, and after losing to Indiana.
Not in the middle of a 6-game losing streak.
So, Magic and Kings tonight. And round of 16, Sweet 16 begins for the NCAA tournament later on this evening. Can I play something for you that until you actually hear it or if you were to read it, you would not put in perspective what this person is making reference to.
Okay.
So I'm going to play something. Quickly, 10 o'clock hour coming up on WYGM Orlando, WJR HD2 Cocoa Beach. Marc Daniels, the Beat of Sports. Chris Vasquez over there. Adam Schefter doing a podcast with one of Pat McAfee's producers. But listen to Schefter explain the Dolphins.
The salary cap this year will be about $308 million. 308. The Dolphins have over $175 million in dead cap money. So we're talking about a team that's basically has $133 million against the salary cap to go spend this year. It's fascinating to think about. And if you look at the composition of their roster, it's just way different than most people will be. They have 43 players next year who are signed for the minimum wage right now. 43 players. The next highest in the league is 31. 10 players on the Dolphins roster right now, they're 70, have a salary cap number of 2 million or greater. So they have to somehow find bargain basement prices. We've never seen a team ever try to do what the Dolphins are about to try to do. So if that's the case, you might as well tear it down and start from the ground up. That's why, to me, I would have called on Devon Achane. And if I were the Dolphins, I'd trade him too. I trade him too. Everybody's for sale.
So is it safe to assume then that Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan got assurances from Stephen Ross that hey, you guys have a runway here. Obviously, we need to basically blow this whole thing up.
You hit it exactly right. Yes. Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, knew exactly the spot they were in. John Eric Sullivan, the new GM, and Jeff Hafley, the new head coach, knew the spot they were in. And of course, they're given a huge leeway and a huge amount of understanding and patience. But as you said also, in this league, that patience lasts only so long. So I don't know whether if it's in year 3, people start asking questions, or year 4, but at some point, they're going to have to show progress on this roster, or else they'll face the questions that everybody else faces.
And yet you signed Malik Willis.
But Chris, I was right. When you hear the numbers like that, then you're like, wait a minute. What? What? Pardon me if this will annoy you. I just want to play the beginning part again of how he breaks down the numbers.
Salary cap this year will be about $308 million. 308. The Dolphins have over $175 million in dead cap money.
Okay, just stop there. I'm not a cap expert, but I do understand some basic stuff. What he's telling you is they have to pay that money and subtract it from the 300 plus to leave them about 130. He goes on.
So we're talking about a team that's basically has $133 million against the salary cap to go spend this year.
That's with and just about every team has some dead cap money. But no one has anywhere near this amount of money. So even if you've got $50 million in dead cap money. You still have $250 million to spend. Okay, he goes on.
It's fascinating to think about. And if you look at the composition of their roster, it's just way different than most people will be. They have 43 players next year who are signed for the minimum wage, right?
Now, minimum wage varies based on years in the league, but it still is minimum, okay? And then he adds one more.
43 players. The next highest in the league is 31. 10 players on the Dolphins roster right now, they're 70, have a salary cap number of $2 million or greater.
Okay, or greater. Doesn't mean 10 guys make $2 million because that would be 20. Malik Willis is one of the guys that counts. So you start to add up dollars. And again, they still may move some pieces, not a final roster. But, Chris, just based on some numbers, okay, they're going to field of 22 starters. There's a good chance a third or more will be minimum pay players next year. So people say, well, let's see what the Dolphins do bargain hunting in the summer wave of free agents. And you're like, for what? Any bargain hunting is moneyballing it with a minimum wage guy. So now you go back and you're thinking, yeah, why would the Dolphins say, yeah, Devon H. and he's on the market? Why not? And you do have to wonder, because, and Chris, I think, well, I know we talked about this. Before Sullivan and Hafley, and Sullivan comes first and Hafley, you have to ask Stephen Ross and anybody else, okay, I have a vision. What is your vision? I got to make sure it's on the same page here. So Sullivan has to know what the Dolphins are saying is, hey, yeah, you got to gut this and rebuild it. Hafley has to know, right? But did Malik Willis know? And if he did, why would you sign up for this? Because Chris, do you think the Dolphins, not for what Miami is doing, but in the market, do they overpay him? Meaning, what Arizona paid around the same? If the answer is yes, did he not ask Miami, what's your plan? I mean, is Achane going to be there? What's the offensive line? What's my receivers going to be? And if the answer was, well, trading Waddle, the line is, Achane, I don't know, we'll probably keep him now, but, man, holy smokes.
Maybe, and again, I can't speak for Malik Willis, but maybe he's fine with the comfortability of having a GM and a coach that he was familiar with in Green Bay. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing. I thought they should have kept Tua. Made no sense to bring in Malik Willis for what they did. You knew you were going to gut the roster. Like, you're going in 6 different directions.
The only thing about players saying, well, the familiarity with Sullivan and Hafley, I get it, but you know this. In the National Football League, how long careers are, every player is playing for the next contract.
So why else go to Miami?
No, I'm agreeing. We're like, okay, you played your way in Green Bay into a free agent market that was going to pay you life-altering money.
Yes.
But then you're hoping that next stop is going to vault you into, in 2 or 3 years, one of those $250 million contracts that has 180 or 200 guaranteed, right? With the team that they're going to throw out there, like, you got to question, no matter how good you are, what the results are going to be.
No.
Unless people go, well, hey, look who we had around. Hey, numbers are numbers, man.
His next contract is going to be for backup money. If he even survives Miami.
Do you remember you had not moved back here? Do you remember the Brian Flores, not the HR departure for the Dolphins? Brian Flores did not want to tank, and the Dolphins wanted to tank. And the problem was even though they had healthy inactives, remember the whole big thing? And Dominic Foxworth was screaming and using his platform on ESPN. And as a guy that once was the player rep of the Player Association, screaming. You can't do this. They're making healthy guys inactive. It was great. But the Dolphins won, and Flores was winning too many games. This is a tank plan in every way except signing Willis at quarterback.
It has to be. They have no other option.
When you say 43 guys at minimum, you're like, well, hey, it's March, rosters change. No.
The Dolphins can't do anything. They can't do anything.
Adam Schefter's point is there's not money out there. It's not like, hey, they'll go find a $4 or $5 million wide receiver. What he's telling you is, no, they can't afford that.
I don't understand the logic of thinking that the Miami Dolphins are trying to follow. Again, you're sending mixed signals.
Wait. I'm agreeing with you, but it's Willis. If the Dolphins had done the approach of saying, we're going to give it a chance with Quinn Ewers and we'll sign another veteran backup, then they're just telling you, hey, we got to break this down. It's going to take a while. But when they sign Willis, you're just like, ah. But when you hear those numbers, it's jarring. If you're a Dolphin fan, and even if you're an NFL fan, you're like, wait, how do you build a roster like that?
If I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because Malik Willis may or may not be good enough to win you a few games. Even
the over into Miami's 4.5 right now. 4.5.
What's Cleveland's?
I'd have to go back and look.
I
think the Dolphins is the second worst on the board.
Cleveland's not going to be much better.
But like I said, when you hear the numbers that he puts, and you're like, wait a minute. So 300 minus, okay, and then you need 53 guys, man. You need 53, and as he told you, 10 make at least $2 million or more. So what's to come is how many of those guys they get rid of? How many of those guys do they look to make a deal or cut to save additional dollars?
Should they even take a first round selection this year?
They got 2 picks.
Are they going to keep them? Can they afford to?
Well, there is money in that. There is guaranteed money. Yeah. Yeah. What a wild.
They messed up from
story.
the beginning by cutting Tua.
Well, you and I will go back and forth on that.
It makes no sense. Look at the situation you're in.
But I'll go back to the decision when you hired any candidate to be GM of the Dolphins has to ask the question of ownership before we do anything here. I need to know what you want to do, because are we going to rid ourselves of a guy that we don't want around because of all the things about him being around?
Was Tua cut first, or did they hire John Eric Sullivan?
No,
first?
Remember the whole BS of the press conference and then that fan gathering is, Tua's by the office every day. We're having conversations right now. But I believe that decision was made before. I think Sullivan said it's going to be tough, but we probably need to cut ties, clean out the past, and we got to get rid of everything and flush out culture. We got to build a new culture, and he's not going to help. And again, the numbers are it is the biggest dead cap hit ever for a player.
And you got to eat it for 2 years.
Yeah. The numbers are just staggering when you start to look at it and you start doing the math. Again, teams can have dead money, but like I said, you have 40, 50 million, you still have $250 million to sign players or to have guys under contract.
I'd be willing to bet that Stephen Ross will not be the Dolphins owner by the time they get this fixed.
Okay, you're saying either because he sells or he's no longer with us?
I'm trying to be like, he sells. I'm not trying to insinuate that he's going to pass anytime soon, but I don't think the Dolphins get this figured out anytime soon.
Well, maybe. You can, and we have gone back and forth on this, with Tua, were the Dolphins going to win a championship in the current structure of how the team's been the last couple of years? Okay, well, you either feel like we're just a piece or two away, and we'll add to that, but they weren't. They weren't a piece or two away.
But if you keep Tua for one more year, you're not dealing with a $100 million dead cap hit.
Well, you don't get rid of it. It's a smaller hit, but yeah.
Okay.
But they made the choice. Now, Chris, they may look at Denver and say, look, Denver figured it out. They ate the Russell Wilson deal. They bit
Denver's
the bullet.
Also got Sean Payton.
Well, the Dolphins have Jeff Hafley. Listen, I also said this after the hire. Everybody just loves the new hire because it's different than what you didn't like. It doesn't mean it's actually a good hire. It doesn't mean it works out. Sometimes you don't hire the right GM. Sometimes you don't hire the right coach. That's also a possibility in Miami, even with rebuilds. Yeah.
Hafley's just a dummy coach, isn't he?
Whoa. You're picking on his intelligence, or you're saying he's just a bridge coach?
Bridge. Sorry.
He may be the Dolphins' Jacques Vaughn, meaning he was given the head coaching job and had no chance to win. No, I said this. I said, if it takes 3 years, your record's your record. And our patience in sports these days is very small. It's very small. And any Dolphin fan will still say to you, okay, I know they're not going to win championship, but I want to see progress. So by the end of the year, I know, hey, we're in the right direction.
I mean, given this roster, what is the right direction? You can't build a roster. You can't go in any direction right now.
That's what makes the Malik Willis signing even more odd. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We come back. Speaking of a quarterback, one clears his mind about his previous stop and why his new stop is better for him mentally and physically. Next.
What's good, locos? This is Angel from the Monsters in the Morning on Real Radio 104.1, and you're listening to the voice of UCF, Marc Daniels, and the Beat of Sports on FM 96.9 The Game. You want real sports talk? You got it right here.
Live on 96.9 FM, 740 AM, the iHeart app, and also the stream that you can watch on our YouTube page. You can access that also through X or Twitter. Just go to 96.9 Game On. Before I get to the other football story I want to get to, hey, man, it's just about winning, right? Will Wade is apparently going back to LSU to be their basketball coach after signing a 6-year deal at NC State. He's gone after 1 year to return to LSU. If you needed a quick reminder, and maybe we laugh because today what happens in college sports to what Will Wade got in trouble for, you're like, and? Remember Will Wade is on the recording about a certain blank offer to a recruit. And then he said, hey, I was just kind of frustrated with the situation. He gets suspended. Then more information comes out about what he did illegally to get recruits. Now today you go, well, but it's legal. Yeah, but it wasn't then. And he was terminated because of NCAA violations. There's a long list of them.
But it's not a violation now.
But it was.
But it's not now.
You used to be ticketed for doing 70 in the turnpike when it was still 55, but now they've changed it, okay? So Will Wade gets fired at LSU. He was a somewhat controversial hire at McNeese State because of how quickly he got hired. And it's not about his X and O's. When Will Wade, who was a basketball coach at Chattanooga, then at Virginia Commonwealth, and in VCU, 2 years, got into the NCAA tournament, went to LSU. Second year, they go to the Sweet 16. He gets fired. He gets hired. And 2 years later, he's coaching at McNeese State and went to back-to-back NCAA tournaments with that annoying student manager and the big boombox that he had. And then Will Wade has a new image, and he gets hired at NC State and signs a 6-year contract at NC State and promises to win. And they got to the first 4 of the NCAA tournament this year, and he's now going back to LSU. Right?
No longer a violation.
Here's one interesting thing, though, about it. His buyout, okay, because he's got 5 years left. The buyout's $5 million if he leaves before April 1st. It drops to $3 million if he leaves on April 2nd. So you just say nothing, right? You say nothing for 6 days. Huh? What? Going to LSU? What? Just stay in your house. And he'll go back to LSU and be welcomed with open arms. Right?
Of course.
Speaking of interesting college stories, Baylor's got a quarterback in DJ Lagway.
Oh, they're in trouble this year.
Chris is making reference to maybe a 10, 15-second clip that
His
went
mechanics
viral.
are awful.
And people are like, man, I don't know, look at that. But my good friend Matt Hayes, who works up in Jacksonville and radio and been writing about college football for years, and Matt these days is writing it up for USA Today. Chris, he caught up with DJ Lagway, and I was communicating with Matt, who wasn't able to work it this morning, to come on the show. We may get to him maybe next week. And I guess DJ Lagway has no reason to hold back, and it sounds like, to me, as I'm reading, when you read something and you read somebody's quote, to me, I'm kind of trying to picture the body language, and is this almost like, man, I it's not getting off my chest. I just want to tell you why I love where I'm at, and it's different. And any Gator fan knows DJ Lagway was supposed to be the program's savior. A true freshman, a 5-star recruit, was supposed to come in and fix all of Florida's woes and make Billy Napier a great coach. And he was going to win Heisman trophies. He was going to bring them back to SEC dominance and make them relevant again on the national stage. And that's what he's supposed to do. And yes, it's in a world where we pay players now, and DJ Lagway got paid well at Florida, depending on whatever number you believe. And it was supposedly north of $3 million last year, if not more. But with that comes pressure. There's no question about it. And it's not like, well, I don't care you're getting paid. You're 18 years old. You know, when Hunter Dickinson made the comment he did about fans and social media at Kansas, he was 23 years old when he was making $3+ million in Kansas. And even though 18 to 23, it's not a big gap, it's a massive gap in maturity. And Dickinson had played at Michigan in a big environment. He had played at Kansas before he came back again. He understood that. For DJ Lagway, it was all new. So I don't doubt for a second that there's pressure on you to go, here you go. And even though Florida had a veteran quarterback, he's still there. And then as the pressure on Billy Napier builds, Billy Napier says, I'm going to need that little baby blanket that we all love, and I got to get him out there. And everybody knows what happened on the backside of that season. All of a sudden, DJ Lagway looks good, and you're like, hey, right? But Lagway shared some really interesting stuff in his interview with Matt Hayes. And I want to share some of the things. He says, quote, about Florida, it was crazy. But not about Florida, man. His first day of school at Baylor. He said, it was also like, wow, this is how it's supposed to be. And goes on to add about at Florida, the bubble that he lived in. And both how he was treated and the access that he had to all sorts of things. DJ Lagway never took an in-person class at Florida. Quote, I was in a bubble down there. I didn't feel like a normal person. I didn't even know what the campus looked like. I was really closed off. I didn't really hang out with my teammates. So yeah, I was depressed. I just stayed in my own lane and stayed out of the way. One, that's actually really sad. Part of it is on him, and part of it, I guess, is on Florida's inability of recognizing that.
Well, why did he isolate?
Well, if you read Matt's story, it's a combination of you get there with all this attention, all this hype. You're focused on being a football player. You don't go to class. You don't interact with classmates. Now, again, I said part of it's on him, part of it's on Florida. Like, you've got to integrate yourself to get to know your teammates. It's on Florida. If you didn't recognize, hey, you okay, man? I mean, what's going on? Then the injuries begin to happen. And that begins to add itself up. He saw, when he did go around campus, here's his name on jerseys and all that stuff. And he says he felt the pressure. Talked about learning the college game, learning the college life. Quote, I blame myself for not doing more to build that brotherhood with my teammates, but I felt like I was put on a pedestal. I was handcuffed, and I couldn't do anything about my injury situation. And then he went on to say, hey, when I was injured, I wasn't around because I'm trying to rehab. I'm not there. I'm not preparing for a game. I'm not practicing. Matt then writes about Dave Aranda, the coach at Baylor, the connection. He had recruited DJ at a high school, and a new opportunity for him. Aranda says he's warned from the Florida experience. All the comments and critics really hurt him. And they've taken a different approach at Baylor on how to kind of make sure he's acclimated, goes to class. That's important to him. Lagway talked about being more normal, being able to just be free. Said as a freshman, was constantly hurt. The hamstring injury bothered me. Couldn't get better. Holding a clipboard was really hard. Off-season, which everybody remembers, that off-season of freshman to sophomore year. Remember the weird spring practice and everything? He said he was never healthy. He said, I couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards. During game week preparation, it was hurt all the time, constantly hurt, barely practiced. And just a weird off-season that he had. Managing the hamstring, managing the core injury, managing his shoulder. He just said that the injuries just couldn't heal themselves and felt the pressure, what was going on with Napier, and then handled it well. And again, you can read the piece that Matt put up. He talks about, losing the games, what that meant, knew what was happening in the locker room with the coaching staff, the pressure to succeed, and all that stuff. And so this is what I took away from the piece. And you haven't read it, but what I took away from is he didn't understand the role that he was stepping into, which was both his fault and Florida's fault. Meaning, whatever the money was, You weren't asked to just come in and be a quarterback. He stepped in and he had to save a coach. And then that whole environment engulfed him. And then you throw in the injuries of someone, and I don't mean immature as a young man, I just mean immature to all of this. The hype, the money, the Florida brand, a coach on a hot seat, freshman quarterback, get out there and play. And this isn't a question about toughest conference in the country. I'm sorry, you throw an 18-year-old out in that conference and you're going to get eaten up. And even though he showed flashes of it, the injuries never healed. And I blame him to a degree. I blame Florida a lot for not recognizing it. But then you're going to say, hey, Napier's trying to save his job and everything. And good for him if he's found a place that he's at peace, and Baylor's learning from what happened at Florida to have a different environment for him and to say, listen, we're going to get you to class. You're going to go integrate with your teammates. We're going to do stuff. And if he ends up having a great run at Baylor, good for him. But it's a little bit of what was behind the curtain at Florida and to just what he was dealing with.
I think he needs to own it. He needs to take
Which he did.
accountability.
And he did that in the piece that Matt.
It sounds like it was just too big for him. But let's be honest. Any five-star recruit who's got all this amazing hype around him, he's coming in to, whether we want to phrase it that way or not, to save a coach's job. Five-star recruit goes to Ohio State, they win one game. You tell me Ryan Day's job's not on the line?
No, but what do you mean? They win one game?
No, if a five-star recruit who's supposed to be the next big thing goes to Ohio State, that year they win one game.
Oh,
tell me Ryan Day's job's not on the line?
Okay, but
so every quarterback coming in.
Well, wait. The thing, I'll give you a comparison. Arch Manning didn't start. Arch Manning came in and sat behind Quinn Ewers, okay, which a lot of people are like, interesting, and I think it benefited. I think he benefited from that. In Lagway's case, even though Graham Mertz was there, the coaching pressure was significantly different. It may be a little bit more now in Texas about, hey, we spend all this money, time to win, Sark. But I think it was different. Even though Mertz was there, Lagway was thought to be the guy that's going to fix all of this. At Texas, Sark had fixed a lot. They were getting better. Every situation's different. Blame goes all around for it. But I do think when you bring in a five-star kid on a coach on a hot seat whose fan base doesn't want that coach but wants the quarterback, I think that's also a different layer of pressure.
To me, that would kind of ease things, wouldn't you think? If you're the quarterback, your job is to go out there and play. The fans want you. They don't want the coach. To me, that kind of eases the pressure off the quarterback.
I don't think so. He's 18, stepping into the SEC in that environment with an angry fan base against, the thing about Florida's schedule the last couple of years, it was, depending what metric, the toughest in the country, at least before the season.
So it was just too big of a situation for him.
Which it's okay.
Yeah.
And if he's at a better place, good for him. But I could see how you can get engulfed in that at Florida. It impacted other players as well. It cost Billy Napier's job.
I want to know why he didn't associate with his teammates.
Well, again, read the piece, and I think it was the injuries began to really bother him. He didn't want to go out. He couldn't practice. He wasn't playing. But I'll say this, and it's one of many, 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 many factors in today's college game. I'm old, okay? Years ago, what did players do schedule-wise? Yeah, they got up, they ate together. Then they went to class, and then they went to practice in the afternoon. Now, you do not do that. You get up, you eat, you condition, and you practice in the morning. And then you know what? You have meetings in the afternoon. Then you do your online classwork because you're back for meetings. We changed this whole thing. So now, hardly anybody interacts. And I'm not telling you that your favorite school does this on purpose, but most schools encourage you to not take classes that require you to be in class. They want you to be in the building more. The online classes, or heck, don't even go to class, which happens in a lot more places than you think. Cam Miller next.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Love data? Love analytics? Let's take a deeper dive into both as we talk to Cam Meller,
What you know is very limited, and what you don't know is limitless.
the Chief Analytics and Data Officer at Pro Football Network. You can follow Cam on X or Twitter at Cam Meller.
We get closer towards the NFL draft, and we always enjoy catching up with a good friend, Cam Miller. Can I just share with this? I just asked Chris Vasquez. He'll be proud. I say, Chris, you've clicked on to ProFootballNetwork.com on the NFL mock draft simulator. And Chris, what was your answer to Cam?
I do it daily.
About that.
Actually, I have the.
I mean, it's incredibly appreciated, but it's hard to say that at this time of year, especially, there's not a lot to offer.
I actually have the draft simulator bookmarked on my web browser, so I can just click on it and it's right there.
If I don't touch my computer, Chris, you can come in and see for yourself. I'm playing it right now. I have a trade offer for my Giants at 5 that I'm still deciding on. Is that okay?
You have 8 minutes on the clock, I think, right?
I do.
So
I do.
We
Yeah.
can do this together. Let's work it through together.
Well, they want me to trade out to pick up a second and a fourth.
Okay, I guess it depends on how far. What I do love, and so this is a great plug. I don't think it was meant to.
Yep.
But we did just add the Rich Hill trade chart, so it actually shows you the value of when these picks are being traded back and forth.
Yep.
And obviously it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But it's if you really want to know what the value is based on years and years of data, I do love the fact that we've got that actual intrinsic value that shows X pick is worth this, X player is worth this, and the sliding scale of what you are giving up and what you are actually getting.
It's fun. ProFootballNetwork.com/mock draft, and you can get addicted to it. I know over the years we've talked about your view of pro days, and it's another form of the underwear Olympics, but it is kind of interesting. I will say this. If you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, I do think despite not winning a championship, you can not brag, but you can feel like the Canes are back. That pro day was also a sign because as I saw and spoke to somebody that was there, more than 100 scouts were there, every NFL team, and it wasn't just those projected to go in the first half of the first round, but it was an impressive day to say, here is the University of Miami. Will you give me that about a pro day?
Absolutely. No, because it's, you want to say, or you want to see if the team is proverbially back, like we're talking about for Miami. And I agree with you 100%. They're back. Cristobal has done his thing, and it's impressive, and it's better for the sport, for college football, and it's better for the NFL. Let's face it. And so, to me, we always wait on pins and needles for a program like Ohio State. How many scouts are in attendance? What actual major analysts are traveling to then count and tell you what scouts are there as well. And I think that we're reaching that point now where, okay, everybody understands, nope, we got to make sure that we're at that Miami Pro Day. We're at that Ohio State Pro Day. They're in that echelon of, we are going to be producing next level talent and you need to be here. And I think that's the pinnacle. That's where we're at. So pro day, what they do on the field, maybe not as much because they're down there for those interviews, those impromptu moments, and they're watching what those kids are doing, not when they're on the field as well and when they're coaching up their teammates. So it's a big deal for them all to be there.
All right. So for Miami, if I can just stay here for a second, we've talked about Bain. We've talked about Melico. We've talked about Akeem Messenger. Tell me about Keontae Scott, who seems to be one of those rising guys as we get closer to the draft. And I guess he had a very good pro day and ran well.
Yes. So to me, actually, so we've been doing a little back and forth and experimenting with some videos. And so as me, I was watching Keontae Scott for his entire college career. It's just who I am from his, time as being a 2-time JUCO All-American to where he is now. He was pegged as the best run support cornerback to me, but also one of those guys when we talked about it, it was, yeah, he can come up and run support. He can sort of play that hybrid nickel if you want him to as well. He's not going to shy away against contact and in coverage as well. But also this is a dude who can play on the back end and sort of do as many forced incompletions. He's a fink artist, I call him as well. And so to me, I don't know why we sort of missed him. I also maybe don't know why he wasn't as productive in coverage. I think maybe just not throwing it, but probably the best run stuffing corner in this draft class, and for him to have a good pro day, it was huge for him.
Can I stay at the position because sometimes fans, not NFL talent evaluators, will forget I played in a bad team, so therefore. But I was reminded as I'm following you, LaDainian Fields at Oklahoma State. Can you share some of the numbers that makes him worthy of a look as to what made him so good?
Yeah, this is a guy. So he wasn't targeted as much. He didn't play as much, and he started playing in the back half of the season when it was sort of a lost cause for the Cowboys. But this is a guy to me who has the makings of one of those. Where did he come from? Who is he? Is he related to somebody that we need to know about? And so to me, when he was targeted, and this is, passes into his primary coverage or a receiver, where the quarterback actually does throw it his way, the national average was around 64% of a completion percentage, and his was down at 15.4%. So naturally, that then moved to a 0 quarterback rating, passer rating, when he was the primary defender in coverage. And he only allowed like 15 or 20 something yards in coverage. So that then correlated to like the per snap basis of something ridiculous. Basically, he led every quarterback last year in all those numbers, and then obviously leads all the returning coverage. So to me, no, it's the guy that him and Colin Lewis, what they have at Oklahoma State, that duo to me is going to be one of those that you look at and say, wow, where'd those dudes come from? So not that you heard it here first, but just get more eyes on them because they're worth it.
We were out at when UCF played BYU at the end of the season, and I'm looking at BYU, and you're studying, Bachmeier quarterback and other dudes, and talking to a couple of people there. They said the best athlete, look over there, and it was Maury Bamba. And I guess I saw one of your guys posted something. He may have ran a sub 4.240 at BYU's pro day.
Puts him in some of that, upper echelon speed guys. And the thing with Bamba himself too is it translates to the field. He didn't get a lot of playing time. They had Darian Alexander and a few others that were in charge in the way, so to speak, for him to be targeted as much and make as many plays. This, to me, he screams athlete that gets on the field. He's got a willingness to play special teams, and that doesn't come, with a lot of these players that are going to run that type of speed. And so, to me, it's a guy that will be drafted probably day 3, and then ultimately, this guy sticks on the roster because he has that willingness to play special teams while he continues to hone his craft as a corner or as a defensive back in an NFL scheme. So he has the makings and the body type and the prototypical athletic skills you need to make a roster. But Bamba himself, I believe somebody had a 4.19 for him, which would have broken Xavier Worthy's 4.21.
Okay, time for the weekly quarterbacks. Ty Simpson Pro Day. What do we take out of it?
Ty Simpson is a talented quarterback with his ability with his arm is talented. There is the small and frustratingly small sample size that is his ability to elevate talent around him, and then there's the ugly losses. But there is the ability that, he beat out, that he won the quarterback job at Alabama. So you look at what he was able to put forth on the tape at his best and what he's been doing inside these interviews. And there's a lot of play that you like of him, and there's a lot of leadership abilities that you like from him. I think the mechanical nature that he throws the ball, you don't have to teach him from day one. He's got that. He's an NFL quarterback from day one with his mechanics. It's just getting and making sure he's mentally there and can work through the process. I think that's where his gaps are.
I'll ask you to give an opinion if you care to. What'd you make of the whole Orlovsky and then McAfee bark back on Fernando Mendoza and Orlovsky telling about Ty Simpson? Some people saying, well, they have the same agent, so therefore all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we've reached it. We're 4 weeks out to the day, and I think the takes are only going to get, I guess the best way to say it is hotter. I think it's even more wrong. It's like when you flip the faucet on to too hot. And we're at that point of the NFL draft here where, you could draw some pretty easy and early conclusions to the fact that Orlovsky has maybe a potential agenda for Ty Simpson to boost his draft stock. And the proof will be in the pudding in April at the end of the month here when he does get drafted, when he gets drafted. But no, to me, Mendoza is by far and away the best quarterback prospect of this class, and Simpson's the only one that maybe can sniff that first round. But we've reached the fever pitch, or we're getting there to the fever pitch of the NFL draft hot pick season.
I'm curious on your rankings, and everybody does it a different way. Are there 32 guys that get a first-round grade? Are there 50 guys that get a first-round grade? Are there 26 guys that get a first-round grade for this year's class?
I believe in this year's class, we have it as the lowest in the past 5 years in terms of first-round grades. I think we only landed with 17 based on not our consensus, but my two guys, Jacob Infante and Ian Cummings, who they grade and they draft, they're our draft analysts. And I think we had 17 when we landed with first round grades. And so you're going to have some overdrafting here. You're going to have some, we do have Caleb Downs with one of those sort of generational grades as well for his position bracket too. And I think this is that fever pitch of this draft class where we actually will have some players that maybe because of their positional value normally wouldn't be drafted as high as they'd be drafted. And so Yeah, no, 17 this year, I believe. One of the years we've never gone over 32 though, in terms of first round grades. So there always is a little bit of reach, but this year feels like we're having more.
Is there like a greater group that would get a second or third round? I'm just kind of curious how that then works out.
Yeah, so it averages out to like a draftable grade,
Yeah.
and then you try to stick around that 250, 260 mark of draftable prospects. But no, this year there's a lot more in that 2 to 3, maybe even on the fringe of that early stages of that day 3. So to me, this class right now has a lot of depth at a lot of positions, and I don't think you could pick one that's got more at this point without doing a little bit more studying. But no, it's you try to stick around 250, but at that point you're splitting hairs, and so we're close to that range for this year's draft class of draftable, but I believe we're under the total number that will be selected.
I know we talked about him before, but there's a guy like D'Angelo Pons at Indiana because of the exposure that he got to fans. Not saying football personnel people didn't watch him, but because the size isn't what you want, the grade maybe is not where you think it. Is it worth it here? Might he get drafted higher because of the way he played in big games, that he may not be, as tall as you want him, but the grade may say this. But if you were to pick a few guys that may get drafted higher, would he fit into that?
Yeah, he fits into that mold and I think him transferring to Indiana behooved his draft stock. I think obviously we can't, with the way that his season went through and with what Indiana did. But even if they didn't win the national championship, and even if they didn't pull out what they did and win the games they did, this was a kid at JMU who flashed his ability. But yeah, he was seen as undersized. Okay, he's just dominating Sun Belt wide receiver corner or quarterback duos. Those of the Big Ten does the same thing, and then he flashes on special teams at Indiana. The pick six, his instincts, his ability to play significantly bigger than he is, and he did it against great competition. So for him specifically, yeah, the overall view that he got from fans probably mirrors what the GMs and decision makers were able to see, on a fly on a Saturday while they're sitting in the hotel rooms traveling. They got to see him a little bit more than they would have. So for him, yeah, he'll be drafted higher than I think what most people think, because I think his abilities play significantly higher or bigger than his actual frame.
Is there anybody else that comes to mind that you just like that, hey, he's probably going to go higher because people will see beyond the size or short hands or something like that jumps out?
Yeah, there's maybe not necessarily size, but I think I'll stick in that cornerback range. There's Keith Abney II at Arizona State. I think if you see where he is in the draft class and see where people have him ranked, it's sort of all over the map on that from day 2 down to low ranging day 3. And I think he's a guy that almost broke our grading system in terms of our actual analytics with his ability and coverage, and to the point that they just then stopped targeting him. They looked elsewhere when teams played Arizona State, and the season didn't go as what they wanted it to, obviously for obvious reasons, but he did not have a lapse in place. So Keith Abney II at cornerback right now is a mid day 2 prospect, but would not surprise me if the decision maker or NFL GM loves him enough to target him early round 2.
I'm not trying to persuade you either way. I'm just going to ask a question for producer Chris Vask. Actually, Chris, why don't you ask him about your new favorite player?
All right, the UTSA kicker. 12 of 13 at pro days.
I didn't say anything.
12 of 13 at pro days. Hits a 70-yarder. Runs a 4.5 40. Are there teams that are going to see this and overreach on him, despite him only kicking one extra point for UTSA last year?
It's maybe. All it'll take is just one. I gotta say, when you see the athletic profile and you see what he can do, I want to see, can he tackle? Because at that point, let's just throw him on special teams on kickoff coverage, and there's your onside kick. Let's fool everybody. Line him up next to your actual kicker, and then otherwise, okay, he's darn. He's the fastest man down the field, and he's making tackles. To me, an athletic guy like that is worth a practice squad spot to see what you got, and so I don't see why he's not either the first UDFA undrafted free agent signed on Saturday afternoon, or if he's still somewhere in that round 7 mark, because athleticism like that, and the ability like that. I mean, we've drafted college soccer kickers without any reps, and they've turned out to be better than even the Aguayo family did. So, yeah, no, I see one decision maker, one NFL GM that makes the decision to move up and get him because of that.
Chris, maybe you're right. I said he wouldn't get drafted, so maybe you're right.
I mean, the Niners took used a third round pick on Jake Moody.
Yeah.
Roberto Aguayo was drafted in the 2nd round.
I know, but those guys kicked. Yeah.
They didn't have the athletic build, though, of Jaffer.
Yeah. Hey, and maybe Aguayo shouldn't have been drafted. Obviously, as we can hindsight is 2020, but I always go back to that story. He only kicked college balls his entire life, and so that ounce heavier, that quarter inch or centimeter longer made all the difference for him. So there's a lot that goes into scouting these players. So again, with that athletic profile, I don't see why not. I mean, I'm stashing him on round 7. It's value picks. It's a commodity in round 7. So go ahead and draft him.
This will be the last kicker question for this draft cycle. But no, is Trey Smack the highest rated kicker? The kid from Florida?
We have Dominic Zavada
from Michigan.
His story and his transferability, his G5 kicking abilities, and his leg. I think the distance, but no, I always marvel at how we can look at kickers and we can try, but then it's going to take, just I keep saying it, one GM, one decision maker to say that's the kicker I want, and then they'll pull the trigger when they want to. So that's all got to be, to me, one of the harder ones to scout, because who knows what they're really looking for.
On X or Twitter at Cam Miller, you can also get the link there, but also go to ProFootballNetwork.com or ProFootballNetwork.com/mock-draft and have some fun with all the draft simulators that you can play with between now and the draft. Good catching up. Thank you. Talk to you next week.
Talk next week. Thank you.
11 o'clock hour kicks off with the news coming up. WYGM Orlando, WJR HD2 Cocoa Beach.
Let's really do the news.
Yes.
Now it is time to do the news. But now it's time for the news.
All right, Magic back in action tonight. Get the Sacramento Kings of the Kia Center trying to snap a losing streak. And no game is an easy game for the Magic. After last night's result in the NBA, the Magic now tied with Charlotte for the 9th and 10th spot in the Eastern Conference. Charlotte plays the Knicks tonight. The Magic at the Sacramento Kings, every game critical down the stretch. Sweet 16 round gets going tonight, 4 games in college basketball. We get all the hype of the opening weekend and kind of quickly rolls up on, oh, wait, yeah. So we got 4 basketball games that will go tonight. And tips off just after 7 o'clock as 11-seeded Texas takes on a 2-seed in Purdue. Then 9-seeded Iowa takes on 4th-seeded Nebraska. That'll be at 7:30, 9:45 for 4th-seeded Arkansas against the top-seeded Arizona. And then a 10:05 start for 3rd-seeded Illinois taking on 2nd-seeded Houston. That, by the way, is in Houston. So the Cougars playing not on their home court, but not that far from their home court. Major League Baseball season began with the Yankees beating the Giants 7-0 yesterday. Aaron Judge struck out 4 times. Yankees didn't need his bat. Max Fried 6 1/3 of scoreless baseball. Tony Vitello debut as a manager in Major League Baseball does not go well. The Yankees win 7-0. Full slate of games today. The Mets and Pirates go at 1:15 today. Paul Skeens throws for the Pirates. The Rays are in St. Louis against the Cardinals at 4:15 later tonight. The Dodgers hang another World Series banner and open up their defense against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Chris, can I play this clip from you? Alex Sherman, been a guest on the show many times, covers sports business for CNBC. Had an interview with Tom Brady this morning. And after the flag football event that Brady participated in and got paid a lot of money for, he asked Brady if he'd given any thought about playing in the NFL and pausing his minority ownership stake with the Raiders and coming back and playing. Here's Tom Brady's answer.
Funny enough, you ask. I actually have inquired, and they don't like that idea very much. So I'm going to leave it at that. We explored a lot of different things, and I'm very happily retired. Let me just say that too. So I loved being out there playing in the flag game. I love not getting hit. I've got a lot of really fun things I'm involved in, and it's never going to be old. You know, you can get old throwing passes to incredible athletes on the football field. But if anything, that game reconfirmed to me that I'm very happy in my retirement.
He didn't say when he contacted the league. He's been a minority owner for, I think, 2 years right now, I think. Or clearly he gave it a thought. Like, I don't doubt for a second that Brady can watch games on Sunday and go, I'm still better than 2/3 of the guys out there right now.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And he's probably better than half.
I'd agree with that as well.
Physically, it's just different. But accuracy, reading, pre-snap, you don't lose that. That part you don't lose.
I wonder what kind of time the quarterbacks today put into the film room and studies the way Brady did.
Right.
I don't think anybody touches the mentality and
Well, I think there are guys that do it. It's just
not to Brady's extent.
Well, but we don't know exactly ours. My point is Brady's proven it. The body of work is what it is. So therefore, when he says something, you go, yeah, he's probably right about that. But at least acknowledge that, yeah, well, went back and at least asked. College basketball mentioned the Sweet 16. It appears that LSU, who fired Will Wade for NCAA violations, is bringing him back. Wade, who left the school, sat out a year, then coached at McNeese State, going to the tournament 2 years in a row, took the job at North Carolina State, signed a 6-year contract last year, 5 years left with a $5 million buyout. It drops to $3 million on April 2nd. He's apparently going back to LSU after one season at NC State. I'm sure Lane Kiffin will meet him when he gets off the plane.
Oh, that's a dynamic duo right there.
Oh,
that's a dynamic duo.
Sure, LSU just loves it. Bring him back. Again, Magic basketball tonight against the Sacramento Kings here on this station. A history lesson coming up in about 25 minutes. Up next, whether you believe that the Orlando Dreamers have any chance of getting baseball here as an expansion team or to convince the Rays to come here has nothing to do with what we'll get into next. But I've seen this story before, a lot in Tampa. And it's usually a sign that they don't have the support that they think they need. We'll explain with a guest next. Last night, the Orlando Sentinel was very kind to invite me as they're celebrating their 150th anniversary as part of a sports roundtable forum. The editor for the Sentinel, Roger Simmons, who I've known for years, invited some of his colleagues, former colleagues. Mike Bianchi was there. George Diaz and Brian Schmitz, who wrote for the Sentinel for many years, was there. Steve Hogan, Florida Citrus Sports. Jason Siegel, the Great Orlando Sports Commission. And then I was a part of that group. And it was great. We looked back at Orlando sports, the present and future. And somebody brought up about baseball and the Dreamers effort. And as I said in teasing to have our next guest on, I don't know what will happen there, but I did see something yesterday that triggered me on the Tampa Bay Times, which led me to contact my next guest who's been on before. Will Weatherford, whose brother Drew was a quarterback at Florida State. Will and his brother are part of a hedge fund that has access to billions of dollars. Will is part of the group with the Tampa Bay Rays staying in the area, the group that bought the team. He is a former Speaker of the House. When I saw that he wrote a column in the Tampa Bay Times telling you, now is the time, Tampa Bay, to come together because of the significant moment, I did the, I've seen this before. That means internally, their polling tells them they don't have support for the financial plan that they need. Because right now is the process of public forums to get out and sell the vision. And renderings are great. We love the video and everybody loves it until you have to actually pay for this. Neil DeMoss has been covering stories about stadiums and arenas and cities and what they give owners for many, many years. Field of Schemes is the website. Neil's kind of come back. Welcome back. Long time. How you been?
I've been okay, this just keeps on going. I keep hoping that one day we will get to stop talking about this, but I do not think that day will be soon.
So, like I said, I saw the story in the Tampa Bay Times and the editorial written by Will Weatherford, and to me it was like, they got a problem. Yeah. And you followed this story and wrote about it a couple of days ago. So tell me where you think this project is at, because there's a couple lines that I know you love where someone says 100% privately financed with no tax dollars, ... right?
Right. No tax dollars except for all the tax dollars, right? And this is kind of, the raised proposal is kind of a sort of modern classic of how these deals are starting to go, which is you're saying, well, it's going to cost $2.3 billion to build this stadium. I'm not actually sure how much of that includes the surrounding development or rebuilding the college campus that the stadium will go on top of. But, $2.3 billion, and the Rays are going to pay for half of that. Well, that's great, but that means that somebody else is going to have to pay for the other half of that. And right now it's the city and the county via money that nobody's exactly quite sure which pot of money it's going to come out of. Then you have this whole, we want to do a big development project, but we want it to be on public land that we're going to get for free and that we're not going to pay any property taxes on for 99 years that we're going to lease, which is exactly what the Washington Commanders just did in D.C. And when an economist started crunching the numbers of how much it was going to cost in foregone property tax revenues, it was like $7 billion. It's probably closer to $1 billion in Tampa, but still, you put that together with the other, billion and change, you're right up to over $2 billion. And basically, the public is going to pay for the via either direct money or tax breaks or free land is going to pay for the entire stadium.
One of the interesting things that I saw that you posted, and Ken Babby is the CEO of the Rays, and it's his job to get out there and do these forums and tell you why it's so great and it's going to change Tampa. But I love the piece that you put up there that the NPR station in Tampa had. The Rays would build surrounding development, including hotels, offices, restaurants, residential, recreational areas. That'll be 100% privately financed with tax dollars from the district use eventually pay it off. So it's like, yeah, you're going to give us the money back, so they're not going to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a couple of different things. One could be, well, they're going to pay for it, but we're going to pay them back. But that's, but they're paying for it up front. So therefore, it doesn't count that we're paying them back. And the other is this kind of way in which, a lot of sports team owners and elected officials are trying to sneak through subsidies by saying, well, it's tax money, but it's not really our tax money, right? It's tax money that the team is paying. So it's really their money. which, needless to say, is not how tax money works for anyone else, right? If you want to go to the IRS and say, hey, look, I understand I owe you $10,000 in taxes this year, but that's money that I earned and I'm paying taxes on, so you should just give it back to me to spend on me. We will not get very far. So, again, these are all a whole bunch of different dodges that team owners are starting to have to use because the initial argument from 30 years ago, well, this is just going to be a great economic boon, so therefore the city council or state legislature should cut us a check. I think people are starting to realize that doesn't make any sense, and that every economist in the country says it doesn't make any sense. So they're trying to find other ways of saying, well, sure, we're asking for $2 billion in tax money, but it's not really tax money.
You've covered this from a distance for a while, but this is interesting. Stu Sternberg became a villain because he couldn't get a deal done, and he eventually sells the team, and everybody loves the new owners because they're not Stu Sternberg. And then every political person wants to say, yeah, we're going to do something together. But now this new ownership is realizing this is not as easy, and you have an outgoing mayor, and you have other politicians like, hey, that's a lot of money. Even though the land comes, from the state, it looks as if they've hit the same roadblock. Now, they've got deadlines because that stadium is not going to be available to them unless they cut a new deal going back to St. Pete. So like I said when I brought you on, I've seen this story 20 times in Tampa. I don't know if this is any different. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. The more stadium deals fail than succeed, right?
Yeah.
But also teams always come back with new ones. So, we certainly thought that the deal in St. Pete was like, well, the Rays have finally solved this, and then turned out not so much. So is it possible that DeSantis is going to push this through and they're going to get something done this year? Sure. Is it possible that, as you implied, the reason why you've got all the, people with the Rays scrambling to try and sell this thing is because they're worried that they don't have the support for it? That is also very possible. So without being a fly on the wall in, all the different legislative chambers, I don't have a sense of where this is going. And there are certainly a million different ways that it can fall apart. But, that doesn't mean that one of them might happen. So this could easily happen. It could end up going back to St. Pete. They could end up looking in Orlando. They could end up with yet a different Tampa deal because Lord knows Tampa has, been interested in doing something for years. They just didn't have, couldn't find the money to scrape together, and they may still not have the money to scrape together. So the betting lines are all over the place on this one.
The crazy thing is, and I followed with the eye from the Orlando View here. This is the better place potential financing. You could argue about the corporate sponsorship and things like that, but the tourist tax here is so significantly greater than what Hillsborough County has that if that was a way to go, now you've got a change in county mayor and there's other projects there, but Orlando's tourist tax is much greater than Hillsborough, and if they were to go down that path, could do it. Now, I'm still not quite sure you got the land and what's feasible. And I said a month ago, hey, if the state wants to donate more land, like they're supposedly doing in Tampa, do it here. The state owns land. You want to do that and get the entitlements done, I'll dance with you, but I'm not quite sure we're at that point yet. But these usually die. I'm sorry. These deals usually get done because the city caves, Neil, right? The owner never caves and says, here's another $1 billion, right?
Right. I mean, occasionally, the San Francisco Giants ended up building their own stadium because they went 4 times for referendums to get stadiums built with public money in either San Jose or San Francisco, and were told no every single time. And then finally they said, okay, fine, we'll just build it. So it's not unheard of. But yeah, it's far more common. I mean, look at the Marlins, right? The Marlins spent 10 years going back over and over again and saying, this is the last year that we're going to consider building a new stadium in Miami. If we don't get money this year, we're just moving somewhere else. And then they would be told, yeah, sorry, there's no money this year. And then they would come back to next year and say, no, really, this time. And after 10 years of that, they finally got, a huge pile of money. So and again, look at the history of the Rays, right? They had at least for a while, but they have kept coming back and trying to find a way to cut a deal locally because they've tried thinking about, maybe we'll play half the year in Montreal, and that didn't work. There aren't a lot of other good markets. Tampa Bay may be kind of fragmented because of the Bay and because, Orlando's a little bit away from there. But it's still way larger than I don't know, Nashville or someplace like that. So yeah, I expect that, especially with a new owner now, that he will try a few different methods if he doesn't get this one done. But it's a little worrying that the numbers are going in the wrong direction, right? Each time he comes back with each time the Rays owners come back with a new proposal, instead of it being, okay, well, this time we're asking for less, they're asking for more.
Right.
I'm a little afraid that next time they'll say, okay, fine, we didn't get the $1 billion. We didn't get the $2 billion. How about we ask for $4 billion?
I always love it along with this because I'm sure you've watched even more than I do. Everybody loves good renderings. Everybody loves the videos that are put out of what it looks like, and it never ends up like that. And everybody's got great. I mean, I think the Bears have done like 10 of these for their stadium, and I'm sure you've seen hundreds of these. Those are beautiful. They look awesome. They just never get built.
Yeah, I started referring to it as vapor texture, like vaporware computer software, because it's the stuff that is promised but never actually gets delivered. Somebody started doing I forget, social media feed where they take renderings and redo them as they would look empty on a cold, February afternoon or something like that, where it's cloudy, and it's absolutely beautiful because it's the exact same rendering. But, you don't have all these smiling, happy people carrying balloons and kids on their shoulders and stuff like that. It's more like, here's what it's actually going to look like. So yeah, I always enjoy what the renderings promise, but you have to realize that you're comparing it. I'm sure the renderings for the Tropicana Dome looked beautiful in the 80s too.
Listen, we got one of those for the supposed entertainment complex by the Magic Arena that's only 12 years in the waiting, too, and we still haven't put a shovel in the ground, so we're not immune from that as well. Check out Neil's work, fieldofschemes.com. Good catching up. I'm sure we'll talk again. I appreciate it.
I'm sure we will. Have a great day.
Listen, I'm not knocking the Rays' new ownership. It's just they've hit the same wall that Stu Sternberg did. At some point, you got to actually pay for it. And when you go to county and city people who are up for election every 2, 3, 4 years, it's not as fun as, hey, this is great. We've got food and drink, and we're going to show the video, and we got renderings, and every restaurant is packed, and parents are smiling, and kids having a great time, until you go, what? We can't get the money? No. It's really good, though. It's going to be great. And the minute I read the Will Weatherford piece, I'm like, they got problems. They know that they needed to ask the Tampa Bay Times, can we write this and tell them why it's a great project? And they've hit a wall. They've hit a wall. Listen, our wall's right there when you drive by the Magic's arena every time. Take a look at that. A decade. And we're delayed again with that project. All right, history lesson. We come back next.
All right, boys and girls, take a seat and listen up as we take a trip down memory lane with Marc Daniels in this week's history lesson.
Today's history lesson takes us back to this day, this date, in March of 1979. Chris, give me an idea about America. March 1979, 3 Mile Island has its nuclear meltdown. That's a headline. The Kennedy Space Center received its first space shuttle to be used. In the NBA, the league in the 70s dealt with the image of being a league that had drugs, lack of interest. That year, the NBA Finals featured the Seattle Supersonics and the Washington Bullets. One team doesn't exist in that city. The other one's changed its names. And yes, Game 2 of that NBA Finals was on tape delayed 11:30 at night because they didn't think there was any interest. And CBS primetime programming was getting a lot bigger ratings than the NBA Finals. But that college basketball season was pretty special. Although you didn't know it when the year began. Two players that would forever become connected in the history of the game of basketball did not know when the college basketball season began that they were on a collision course. In fact, for one, whose name had been established, but not yet a household name, it was just bizarre. That was when Red Auerbach drafted Larry Bird with the 6th overall pick in 1978 while still a junior at Indiana. An obscure rule that Red Auerbach came across knew that the team would retain a player's rights as a junior eligible player for a full year, meaning if he drafted Larry Bird and he went back to college, he would own what we call bird rights today. He would own Larry Bird's draft rights for a year. Larry Bird was drafted by the Boston Celtics and went back to play basketball for Indiana State. A gamble. Didn't get a player. Bird went back to Indiana State. And the Sycamores had a pretty good basketball season that year. How good? Well, they didn't lose, for one, as the year began, playing, by the way, the Soviet national team in an exhibition game, which they won in Terre Haute, Indiana. Would win at Purdue and played a number of schools, including Morris Harvey College. Household name for college basketball, Chris, huh? But Larry Bird started doing Bird-like things. Had 48 in the game against Butler. Had 32 at West Texas State. In the game against Purdue, he had 22 points, and he had 15 rebounds. And the record began to grow. 10-0, 15-0, 20-0. And suddenly the attention grew. The national ranking for Indiana State went from 20th in December of that year, climbing all the way up to becoming a top 5 basketball team, settling in at number 2 after being 18-0. Then they became the number 1 ranked team of the country on February the 15th by beating Southern Illinois by 1 point. They finished the regular season unbeaten at 26-0. Missouri Valley Conference, as a 1 seed, beat the 8th, the 5th, and the 2 seed. New Mexico State was the 2 seed, and they were 29-0 as they entered the NCAA tournament. Meanwhile, Earvin Magic Johnson and Michigan State began the season ranked 7th in the country. High expectations. They lost after going 3-0 to North Carolina, who was 13th at the time, but then got another winning streak to get to 9-1 before losing at number 4 Illinois as the number 1 ranked team in the country. Dropping to number 6 after that, they went through their Big Ten schedule, losing a few along the way. Finished 4th in the country at 21-6. There was no Big Ten basketball tournament, kids, back then. That's right. The Big Ten just rewarded its regular season champion with the automatic bid. 40 teams made up the NCAA tournament in 1979. And all you could do was hope and think, well, could the white kid from French Lick possibly get on a run the way the bracket looked? And could that kid, Magic Johnson, who electrifies people, well, that would be kind of interesting. By the way, you had to get to the Final Four to begin with. You had 10 teams per region. You had 8, 9, and 7, 10 games to get you down to the 8 teams and then play a quarterfinal and a semifinal and a regional final. By the way, back then, they played third-place games in regions. Try selling that today. Penn. I said Penn, as a 9th seed in the East region, beat Iona, beat 1-seeded North Carolina, beat the 4th-seeded Syracuse, and beat 10-seeded St. John's to get to the Final Four. In the Midwest region, Michigan State was a 2-seed. They would beat the 1-seed Notre Dame 80-68. The Spartans had done their part. In the Midwest region, Indiana State was the 1 seed. They beat Oklahoma in the semifinals and beat 2-seeded Arkansas 73-71. The West region saw the 2 seed DePaul beat UCLA, which gave us a Final Four of Penn versus Michigan State and Indiana State versus DePaul. Could the Sycamores of Indiana State remain undefeated? Could Magic Johnson lift Michigan State to get to the final? They did. Michigan State won 101-67. Indiana beat DePaul 76-74 and gave us a 1979 national championship game of Magic Johnson, the electrifying player for the Spartans, and undefeated Indiana State with Larry Bird. The hype had grown so much. NBC primetime coverage, Dick Enberg, Al McGuire, and Billy Packer.
Players than Larry Bird, the player of the year from Indiana State, and the magic man from East Lansing, Urban Johnson.
You know, a lot of people were surprised yesterday, Larry, when you mentioned that you played ball with Magic Johnson in the World Invitational Tournament.
Well, you know, me and Magic played together in that game, and you know, it's funny because Magic's such a great passer, but he wouldn't give me the ball. You know, and I need the ball.
Well, I hope he don't think I'm gonna pass it to him tonight either. But I thought I passed him the ball. Maybe he forgot it. Or
it wasn't the greatest of basketball games. Once Michigan State took the lead in the second half, the Spartans went on to win the contest over Indiana State that night, and the run for a perfect season didn't happen. A 75-64 game. Larry Bird saw Magic Johnson go for 19 points. 24 points. Bird had 19 points and 13 rebounds. Missed 14 of his 21 shots in the basketball game. But little did we know what that game would mean. It was the highest-rated college basketball game for years. It drew national attention. And knowing that Larry Bird had a chance to go to the Celtics, it went down to the wire before he agreed to sign what was the biggest rookie contract ever. And mind you, how the Los Angeles Lakers got Magic Johnson is also somewhat historic. They didn't have the first pick based on record. They got the first pick based on a trade in 1976 with the New Orleans Jazz that gave them the Jazz first-round pick. The Jazz ended up with the worst record in their conference, and back then, the two teams that had the worst record in each conference had a coin flip to determine the number one pick of the draft. So the Jazz had the worst record, but the Lakers owned that pick. It was a coin flip against the Chicago Bulls that landed in favor of the Lakers, and that's how Jack Kent Cooke made the decision to draft Magic Johnson. Well, Magic Johnson became a Laker. Larry Bird signed with the Celtics before the deadline passed, and Red Auerbach's gamble to draft him ended up paying off. All they had to do then was lead their team to dynastic runs, which they did. And they saved the NBA by meeting in so many finals and being electrifying on the East Coast and the West Coast. On this date back in 1979, that famous Magic and Larry Bird NCAA championship game led to what became one of the greatest rivalries in sports. This date, 1979, by the way, in Salt Lake City, 15,000 available seats. It did not sell out the national championship game. That's today's history lesson. Back to put a wrap on the Thursday show next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
We mentioned the other day the cost of going to a LA Dodgers game. Chris, as data is now being gathered, the average fan will spend how much on a Major League Baseball game in concessions alone? The average fan, on average, spends how much money? Not for family of four, per person. Per person. An average fan spends this.
I'll say 150.
No, just for concessions.
Yeah.
150?
No, I'll say 75.
Not tickets, just
I'll still say
concessions.
75.
75?
75.
A big number. Not that high.
50.
$42.
That's just like a beer and a hot dog.
A lot of money, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Last year, in fairness, my wife and I ate a late lunch on purpose. We went to the Yankee game. We just got a hot dog. Just say we had a hot dog at a Yankee game with a drink. I didn't spend $40. But I get it. People go back a couple times, you know?
I mean, one hot dog's not going to keep me filled for 9 innings.
Okay, Junior, we'll get more. Miss any of today's program, get where you find your favorite podcast and type in the Vita Sports on-demand access to the show. Please subscribe and get it downloaded to listen when it's convenient for you. You can also access the video stream by going to our YouTube page, 96 The Game Orlando. Click on the logo and the live button. You can always watch the show back as well. We appreciate those of you that are doing that, and also access it on Twitter at 96 on Game On. Chris, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll see you tomorrow for a Friday edition of the Vita Sports.